I think it's a physics design gone wrong.
Yeah, Jeremy is our resident scientist. How does this work?
You just make a bunch of sausage, and then your kids don't eat, and you eat 12 links of sausage, and that's when you get the meat mix. That's the kind of breakfast you get.
That's your whole afternoon, man. You got to take a pee and a shower in that.
So that was it for me. I was like, I'm in.
Hello, and welcome to Movie
Hello and welcome to Movie Smash, a show where we dive headfirst into comic book movies outside the MCU. If you're new to the show, thanks for joining us. If you've been here before, you know the drill. Each episode, we're going to smash through a movie whose source materials from a graphic novel or a comic. Is it worth revisiting? Should it be forgotten? Let's find out. This is Movie Smash. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Roberts. I'm the founder of All Panel Creations. With me today, I have a man who just barely looks better than Jonah Hex, Jeremy Parmentier.
Hi, this is Jeremy Parmentier, also of the Retrovaniacs podcast, and I also have QT branded into the side of my face, but that's because I'm a cutie.
Also with me today is a man who also named his horse, Fergel Amayo.
Well, first of all, did you say I raped my horse? Because that is not who we're talking about today.
Named.
Oh, name. Well, I did name my horse Trigger, but I would never do anything wrong with that guy. No, this is Fergel Amayo, though, Gotham Knight Comics, where we have difficulty hearing about horses, but do get our nerd on. And looking forward to talk about Jonah Hex.
Fantastic. And we actually have a guest with us tonight, Deborah Daughetee, who I met a couple years ago at the Baltimore Comic-Con. Deborah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I have a publishing company called Chimera Press, and we do graphic novels. So we have a Bram Stoker award-winning graphic novel called Mary Shelley Presents. I'm also a writer. I've been a television writer. I write short stories, audio dramas, and I really like things on the dark side.
Oh, fantastic. Hopefully you'll be able to give us some insight on sort of what they could have done better or maybe what they did perfectly with this movie. Our movie tonight is 2010 Jonah Hex, starring Josh Brolin, Megan Fox, John Malkovich, and Michael Fassbender, directed by Jimmy Hayward.
After that night, some say he was a changed man, that his spirit crossed over, giving him powers that can't be explained.
Jonah Hex.
Five coffins. Thinking you might need 8.
Cut him down! What happened to your face?
Cut myself shaving. What happened to yours?
So before we jump into it, have you guys seen Peacemaker just came out, last week? Have any of you guys started watching that?
I'm so far behind, but I heard there's absolute literal direct references to Superman and everything around the Superman. It sort of ties to each other very nicely. That's what I heard. It has a very nice tie-in. Very well done.
I don't have HBO Max, and I long for the days of when television was free.
That's when everything was free.
Yeah, I also don't have HBO Max. I did have someone's HBO Max, but now it's not working, so I apparently don't have it. So I'll eventually see it whenever I find another access to HBO Max.
Yeah, I saw it recently. I actually was on a show just the other day talking about it. I gotta say, it does connect very well to Superman. Like it is in the same universe, and they actually retcon the end of season 1 to make it fit. So both seasons are technically in the new DCU because of it.
That's Gods and Monsters. I'd like to see where he goes with it.
So, but our movie tonight, like I said, is Jonah Hex. And Deborah, you chose this one for us. Why'd you pick this one?
Basically, I chose this one because I was writing a Weird West story. I'd been requested to write it for an anthology. And I was watching all these Weird West, kind of movies and things like that. And so when I saw this on your list, it was like, because I really enjoyed this movie. So.
Awesome. Yeah, it definitely felt like it should have been more of a Western, but we'll get into it. Were you guys familiar with the Jonah Hex character?
I was not. I did not read the comics, and I actually, in preparation for this, wanted to get the comics, but they're out of print and way too expensive.
They are really expensive. Old school all-star Westerns for this actually have a very strong market for them right now, but you can actually, Deborah, you can find a lot of Jonah Hex kind of retconned into new DC. He's actually quite a popular character. Has been pulled into a lot of Batman stories, a lot of different Christ on Infinite Earth stories. So you don't have to find him in the original All-Star Western format. You can find him because the enduring quality of this guy is marked by how popular he is and how many different people have portrayed him and how many different places in media he's been.
And surprising no one who listens to this podcast. No, I did not know this character ahead of time. I knew this was a comic book property when the movie came out, but I didn't see the movie until recently, which I'm going to spoil your next question by telling you that now. So, but I did not read this, but I did the same thing. I tried to find the trades, see if I could pick up some up, and they're hard to find. So I'll eventually, read a little more about them, but so far, nothing.
Yeah, my only experience was actually from a few of the DC animated movies that have come out over the years. He's
right.
a side character in several of those movies. And that was, like I said, my only experience with it. Seeing his power sets in this did confuse me a little bit, but because those are not the same power sets he had in those movies. But Fergel, I know you're going to help us out to understand what is canon, what's not canon, or what's accurate and what's not. But for this movie, Jeremy, you alluded to it. This was the first time you saw it, and this was the first time I saw it. But how about the two of you?
No, I saw it in theaters.
Yeah.
I was one of the people that went to the. I'm with Deborah on this. It's a great movie. I mean, if you go into it as an origin story, again, there are certain pieces they definitely read, a quarter, maybe halfway through some of the stories, but it's a mishmash. Even DC says it's more of a mishmash story. The director says it's more of a mishmash movie.
Oh yeah, it's a mashup of all the Clint Eastwood movies. Outlaw Josie Wells, Pale Rider, High Plains Drifter, even Unforgiven with the whole revenge and violence kind of thing. The the man who is forced to watch his family die and goes for vengeance, and supernatural person riding into town. Yeah, it's a mishmash of all those spaghetti. Well, these weren't spaghetti westerns, but
Well, he doesn't have that power in the comic. In the comic, he has no. That was a movie made for movie moment. So that he's got a almost a precognitive sense, but that's based on the fact that he's been doing what he's been doing for years. So he can kind of see things happen before they happen. He's just really quick on the draw, very, very fast. So fast that you can kind of see like that Wanted style, more of that style. But he doesn't pick up and commune with the dead. But that's actually what makes this movie good, because I think if you tried to find a story for Jonah Hex, you'd have got some of the background stuff right, but I think the plot and adding that talking to the crows thing and the
right.
dad, that just makes the story kind of cool, and actually makes up for the bad acting of Megan Fox, who really we weren't there for acting, but at the end of the day, bad acting nonetheless.
Wait, you're jumping ahead there a little, Fergel. First, for those who don't know, do you have a little background on the character himself?
Yeah, I mean, so 1977 All-Star Western. I believe the guy's name, and I don't want to say it wrong, is Tony DeZagunga. And John Albino. They created this character. So again, thinking about this character, it diverges because he's like, even how he ends up in the current position where he's, the general and the whole thing like that. He actually gets branded in the comic by Indians. He gets branded, so it's not even the same kind of branding situation. So a lot of the things that happen, I mean, where it gets really cool for the comic is talking about the story of Jeb and Quentin Turnbull and the actual loss of his son. That's all based on comic canon, including even the massacre, even if it was portrayed completely different. It's still all played. But from that point on, like I actually went back again to look up Eli Whitney, because again, those kind of guys like Da Vinci, Eli Whitney, Tesla, they created shit that, I bet you nobody still knows about, that could have done some craziness in the world.
So I think that's what really confused me, I think, a little bit, was that, like I said, I was used to him not having those powers, but we'll save that conversation. Before we jump into it, if this is your first time joining us, just a heads up. We're going to be discussing sort of elements of the story, may be considered spoilers, sorry. And I mean, this is just a nice retelling of Thanos Goes to Tombstone, Arizona. So consider yourself warned.
This Thanos going to Tombstone, Arizona. Well, this Thanos looks a little angrier. I got lost in the Jonah Hex character, and then I was like, wait, it is Josh Brolin. Yeah, this was one of this.
So, Deborah, could you walk us through the plot a little bit?
Yeah, I basically just wrote like an elevator pitch that I can give you. It's basically Jonah Hex is a scarred bounty hunter who is consumed by vengeance because his family is killed in front of him by his former commander, General Quentin Turnbull. Then he's left for dead, okay? And the Native American shaman finds him and brings him back to life. However, Jonah Hex now is in that liminal space between life and death, and he's able to speak to the dead. And the dead help him track down General Turnbull so that he can take vengeance on him. But in the meantime, Turnbull has got this huge weapon, as referenced by the Eli Whitney reference, that is going to destroy Washington, D.C., and hopefully the floundering United States. And Jonah Hex has to save the day.
See, that sounded so much better than what I just watched today.
Whoa, man. You don't think the exploding dynamite guns were dope? Or the little strap-on Gatling gun? Come on, man.
The little strap, no, the guns at the end that Smith got him,
Yes.
those are fabulous.
And I love, by the way, let's not underperform the fact that Lance Reddick was in this movie. They had names in this movie. I mean, again, they even attracted Megan Fox, our award-winning Academy somebody.
It was an amazing cast.
Why don't we jump into the characters? This is a nice segue into it. So it does have a huge cast for a comic book movie of its time. I guess we can start with Lance Reddick. He is in this movie, and I was surprised to see him. And I mean, he passed away, I think it was last year, but anytime you see him in anything, he always does a fantastic job. He plays the Smith.
What if he was in the Continental? What if that was old school Continental? You don't know that. Because when he walked in the shop, he was a sommelier. Welcome back, Mr. Hex. How can we be of service today, Mr. Hex?
That's exactly what I think every time I see him. Every time I see this movie, I think of John Wick.
So you think that this actually might canonically be the prequel to the Wick universe?
Could never know, man. That was at least for the hotel side of business.
Yeah.
See, for me, whenever I see Lance in anything, my first thought goes to the TV show Fringe.
Yeah, the Agent in Fringe. Yeah, that show got real weird there.
Yeah, and then from there, he also plays the voice of Zavala in a game called Destiny.
Well, that my son would know. And yes, that was a big deal when he passed away because the voice of Zavala had to kind of get all completely. And he's a huge character in the Destiny games.
He is. So we've seen a couple different characters. Why don't we jump? Let's just start with Jonah Hex, since he is the titular character.
I don't think he was I think he was good. He was Josh Brolin good. I think it was Josh Brolin good. He brought what Josh Brolin could bring. There were better choices. I think there were more, better choices. I even think, and again, I was being a nitpicker on the scarring. I think the scarring could have been a bit better. I mean, what I appreciate was the comic accurate piece that hung on his mouth, but they could have given a little bit more around the side of his jawline. That would have been a little bit. And then the fact that the Quentin Turnbull was one thing, but he actually did the scarring on his face himself to erase the Quentin Turnbull.
Right. I
cool.
thought Josh Brolin did a good job. Like you said, Josh Brolin good. And I think his type of acting really fit the character of Jonah Hex as far as I was concerned. Just very low key, very, So I'm a huge fan of Josh Brolin anyway.
Yeah, I thought he was fine. I don't know much about the comic character, but in this movie to be this kind of, lone gunman kind of, not emotionless necessarily, but kind of an undeterred. I think he did a good job of that. And I liked the scarring makeup. I thought it looked pretty good considering it actually let him still talk. And it wasn't like he was talking through his teeth the whole time. He did some, but not all the time. I thought it was actually not bad. And I liked that they showed that second scarring where he's like, I'm not going to have this brand. I'm going to just burn the side of my face instead. So that was cool.
That was cool. That was very cool.
Was.
Yeah, from the comics, correct me if I'm wrong, it's actually a little more ghastly. The actual scarring is supposed to be there's supposed to be a hole in his cheek, so you can see into his mouth.
You can see into his mouth. Gruesome. It's actually several more scars that go down, almost akin a little bit on that side to Two-Face, just on that side to like Bruce Nolan's Two-Face, a little bit like that. But again, I'm nitpicky because I like the character and like the things you referenced. That's a good place to start. By the way, Deborah, if you ever just want to turn on. Or rent from another streaming service, one of those Batman movies like World. That's an interesting portrayal. There's a couple other ones that have, and they're like Darkest Night, Batman. Great portrayal of Jonah Hex in that. Just those type of stories, you can get great. And I'm nitpicky a little bit for this guy because he's pretty badass. And he actually beat Batman in a gun battle.
Wow.
Well, I hope so because Batman doesn't use guns.
No, it's because he's faster. Batman's fast, bro. Yeah. Batman's like flash fast.
So what's the difference between this origin story and the comic book, Fergel?
The one in the comic involves Indians, a betrayal, a slaughter of Indians, and him being branded by the chief. That's the major difference in this one. But like I said, they did a good job because they picked characters out of canon that were very close to this character, like Quentin Turnbull. And actually, he was more than the commander. He was the father of his best friend, Jeb Turnbull,
Right.
who he was responsible for killing. That part is equal to comics, even if the scene is a little bit different, which it is, but it's still pretty equal because it's just people being killed needlessly.
Now, was Quentin Turnbull in the Turnbull? Was he in the comics?
He was.
So, well, how do you guys think Malkovich did for that role? Did he pull it off?
He pulled it off. He's probably the coolest one in the entire movie. He was definitely a guy. He was all about this role for sure.
I thought that the character could have been written a little bit better.
Now, what do you mean by that, out of curiosity?
I thought he was a little bit one note. He was there was no dimensions to him at all. I mean, Jonah Hex, yeah, he's out for revenge and everything, but he has dimensions to him. He has the regret over killing his best friend. The dog that follows him around, I mean, I love it when he turns to the dog and says, I don't know what to say to you. He's obviously in love with Lila. So there's dimensions to that, but there weren't any dimensions to the John Malkovich character.
I can see that. I can see that. He was pretty driven on that whole destroying the U.S. and getting revenge for his son.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you never saw any kind of softness when he talked about his son or anything. That's what I thought he could have shown something. Now, I also understand that the writer probably made him, he cut all that off. But I don't know. I felt that he could have had that little softness when he talked about his son or...
No, I was going to say the fact that they, in the background of this is that all these, generals and everyone else were Confederate soldiers going against the Union after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
So they have this kind of, it's not as cut and dry as when you make Nazis your bad guy, where you're like, well, clearly they're the bad guy. But it's the same idea. Like, they didn't need to have a lot more. His whole goal, other than the revenge against Jonah Hex, which is secondary, his main goal is, I'm going to destroy this country that I, fought against. I didn't think we should have lost. We didn't. I'm going to win now in the back. So I didn't mind that there wasn't a lot to him. This is also a fairly short movie, so I don't know how much more time they could have put into his background. But I do think you're right. It was very much one-dimensional. But I think in this case, this kind of movie, that didn't bother me as much as it would in other sorts of movies.
He was a badass general with a badass mission. That was his story, and he was very driven. Now, like when you think about a dimensional bad guy in the same exact scenario, Wild Wild West, although the movie's kind of dumb, the guy, Kenneth Branagh, the bad guy he played in that, was so completely multidimensional on every front. Very, very driven in that regard. This guy, though, just seemed like a ruthless assassin general that will do whatever it takes to destroy what he doesn't see should be happening, and will literally kill, maim, murder anyone to get in the way of doing that. So much so that the president's afraid of him.
Yeah, and it's not just destroy the United States, it's kill. I mean, the whole inciting incident, which happens off screen, is the order to attack the hospital.
Yeah.
So it's not, I mean, he just wants to kill. That's
his story. That's his background.
He sees mercy as a weakness. And
yes.
We see it wasn't him that set up one of his minions at the pit fight. And he says, we just didn't kill enough. If we had just killed more, we would have been fine. He was also saying the reason why the weapon wasn't first developed was because people said I couldn't see that kind of destruction brought against humanity.
That's literally why they stored away a weapon they think were afraid of building. And so here's a big old plot point. Where the shit did they get this thing built? Did the government just build it and take it apart? Is that what happened?
Well, I don't think they actually built it during the war. Like, they built the plans. They wrote the plans out.
Then who built that device and created those balls?
Yeah, that's a real plot point, because they actually say that it wasn't built.
That's the thing. The president's like, it was theoretical, and then all of a sudden you have this beautiful looking, incredible symphony of destruction coming out the door. Like, what the hell?
You got to remember, and I'm not a fan of the movie so much, but I'm gonna fight for it on this. It has been years since they saw him last, right? They thought he has been dead for a while. He could have been working on this revenge for quite some time. Like, this has all been happening.
He steals the cannons from the...
Yeah, he does. So they had the cannons. So the Union actually built what they said they didn't build. So that was the first lie of the government ever recorded on film. Boom. We just got it done. We just called it a day. We added it all to we brought it back to the day. I feel good about that.
Now, Jeremy, you mentioned about how like they're almost by using the Confederates, it's almost like using the Nazis. We know they're the bad guys, but there was that scene with Smith with Lance Reddick where they highlight the fact that Jonah was a member of the Confederacy, and sort of say like, oh, but you weren't a member of them because you were just doing it for whatever your reason was. I forgot what it was.
You didn't like to be telling what to be done. That's what Smith said to him. You was no secessionist. You just didn't like to be told what to do by the government. I'm like, okay, we're cool. I guess there were levels. We're not so, we're all good.
But the beginning of it, with the voiceover, he says, you're doing what you think is right. And then you find out it's not.
And you have a change of heart. And clearly the president looked for Jonah Hex. It was like a Jack Reacher moment. Get me Jack Reacher.
Yeah. Yes.
Where's Reacher? Oh, there he is.
What you guys think of Megan Fox's movie? Part of Lila.
She was Megan Fox. I mean, there's not much more to say about that. I mean, I'm just thinking back to 2007's or 2008's Transformers. She's Megan Fox. She plays a role.
I love the character. I love the character of Lila. I love the way that the character of Lila turns the trope of the saloon girl prostitute on its ear. She doesn't have to be rescued. She rescues him. And, it's not, the typical comic book refrigerator girl moment, So I really love the character. Megan Fox certainly had the beauty. The beauty, I will say. The acting was less than, but if you think of this as a movie made on a comic book, oh well.
There have been other more recent movies or shows that have done that same kind of character. Like I don't know if you liked Westworld that was on HBO or even Deadwood before that. They had characters that were, they worked in the brothels. They had more depth to them. They had a little more going on, but they had more time. And you could spend, 10 minutes an episode or, hours over the season kind of getting their background. Again, the movie is not about her, so it's okay that she's a little wooden, but her purpose is there, and it does move the story forward, but she's just okay in it.
She does move the story. I mean, she's what creates the moment on the boat with Quentin Turnbull. He's got a moment to be there, and she also works through that thing, so they do really well in that whole scenario.
She did not want to do this movie originally, from what I was reading about this. In fact, it wasn't until Brolin had got a rewrite on the script, because she read the script, said, it's just too misogynistic. I don't want to be that character. I want something more than that. And she got a rewrite for her character. Of course, but when it was all said and done, she thought this was her worst performance she's ever had.
I think she's cutting her other bad performances short. But again, it was okay. It wasn't that bad.
I was thinking that, but I actually think her performance in Transformers was her best one.
Oh, I love Jennifer's Body.
That was a good one too. She was good in that movie. She was very fun in that movie. Yeah, yeah. Have you seen the Subservience movie or a recent one? Wow. What happened there? That's a long way to go. She was highlighting the cost to keep Megan Fox. And it's like, that's an adventure, I promise you. You're giving in the $4K for that one.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think of Michael Fassbender as Burke?
Nobody talked about Michael Fassbender as Captain Irish. I loved him. He was so playing into Captain Irish with the tattoos on the neck, the whole nines. And then the fact that that's the other comic accurate part. If I'm not mistaken, no, it's not comic accurate. Forget what I just said. But I love the fact that he brought him back to life and killed him again. That was dope as shit. Like, that's a good way. He cut the back of his head off and he's like, come on back. We're not done yet. Smack, smack.
He's my favorite character in the movie. I just thought he was absolutely wonderful and so over the top in such a good way,
He said in an interview he was trying to embody the Riddler.
Oh, that makes sense.
He definitely did the Riddler thing. I think what he was trying to do was make sure he could get more jobs. And that every job he had, he was like, I'm going to act the shit out of this job so I get my next one. And he truly acted the shit out. You could see the guy, like Quentin was like, John Malkovich is sort of like Nicolas Cage. Like, he just gets a role and does whatever the fuck he wants. Nobody says shit to him. He just gets up there and Quentin Turnbull's that. But like Michael Fassbender's like, I don't know if I'm going to get another acting job. I'm going to act the shit out of this movie. And he acted the shit out of it.
He did.
I'm glad that he did well. I'm glad there's a lot of other big names in this. We forgot the biggest name in this movie, which is Colonel Slocum, who runs the fighting pit. It's Tom Wopat from the Dukes of Hazzard. So that was it for me. I was like, I'm in. I'm sold.
Are you talking about one of the Duke boys?
Oh, yeah.
Is that the dark-haired Duke Bo or Luke? No, that's like Luke Duke, isn't it? Or is that Bo Duke?
Yeah, I think that's Luke Duke, but it doesn't matter. It's one of the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, wow. I would have completely missed that one.
The Venom character, the one who was in the pit. I remember seeing that. I'm like, what is it, a werewolf movie all of a sudden? But that guy, he was uncredited in the movie. I was looking for him. I was trying to figure out who he was because he looked familiar. He's actually an art director for the movie.
Really? Yeah, that was a little strange. So that was a bit throughout. Like, I know they were trying to kick in that whole Crow and supernatural theme, but why give the stretchy jaw Venom guy any play?
Yeah.
Like, he was sort of just thrown in there like, okay, we just caught this otherworldly demon. Go on in there and have some fun.
It kind of made a promise of other things like this in the movie that was never.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Except when he brought him back to life
agree.
and punched him in the face and knocked him into ash.
Because you kind of felt like there's going to be this other supernatural world we're going to get involved in, but that's not where the plot goes. The plot goes there's just a guy with a cannon that does a lot of explosions.
Yes, and how
about Will Arnett?
Who?
Lego Batman. He was in this movie.
Oh, the general.
Yes.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
No, the lieutenant. He's a lieutenant.
Is he
the Union? Yeah, he was the Union.
I thought he was in charge. I thought he was the whole guy because he was in front of the president. I didn't pay attention to rank at that point. He had boards.
What you guys think of Will Arnett in this movie? It's a non-comic role for him, which is unusual.
Interesting. I'll take your word for it.
I guess he made to make an impression on you guys. I thought it was funny. So we sort of hinted at a couple different scenes in the movie. So why don't we just choose a couple to talk about? Which one stood out to you all?
The first one with the gun scene when he's in the town, he brings them back and he realizes there are 5 coffins. He's like, "Are you here?" And he just pulls up the situation and just mows down. Which would suck if you were just in the bar waiting on a drink.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just thinking to myself the whole time as I'm watching this, because I watched this today at the same time you watched it, Chris. We both caught ourselves in that position today. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, if I was in that bar, I'd be pissed because I wouldn't expect 100 rounds a minute coming at me out of nowhere.
There was a lot of collateral damage in that scene.
Well, not only that, he burns the whole place down.
Yeah, he burns it all down to the ground.
It looks like it's a hotel or something.
If I'm not mistaken, wasn't that the only standing structure in that town? Did he just basically take 3/4 of the town to nothing?
Yes.
Kind of reminds me of what was it? We saw League of Extraordinary Gentlemen when Sean Connery is walking out of his bar, just the place blows up and.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a cool scene. I definitely like that one, and I like the guns with the diamond sticks on them. Those were cool as shit. That's just a cool toy. Those
were my favorite guns. And when he finished and he threw them down, I'm going, what are you doing? Just
reload them, man. Reload. I know you're in the heat of the moment, but put them in the pocket. Put them in the pocket, bro.
What are you doing?
Those are works of art. You don't know if the Smith spent like a year building those guns.
That's
and he
right.
just uses it one shot and he's done. Damn it.
What about the pit fight scene?
Well, that's the one that had Tom Wopat, so clearly it's the best scene in the movie. No, it was a good scene because it wasn't. You had the snake mouth guy or whatever that was in the pit. You had the other guy that was in there with him. So there's all this stuff going on to kind of make it so he could conceivably sneak in without everyone seeing that he's there. I mean, he's a known commodity. It's not like no one knows who Jonah Hex is, although they didn't know who to look for him. But he was able to stand right next to a guy who did know who he was, that knew he didn't want to run into him because there's this other fight going on. So I thought that was all right, and I liked the resolution to that, where he threw the colonel in the pit as well. That was all like a neat touch to it. I wanted to actually talk about as well the fact that this is an origin movie, but they don't spend the first 30 minutes of the movie breaking up the origin. I like that they give you the voiceover at the start, and then they have these flashbacks that kind of explain the rest. They tell you about his, you learn about his family a little more depth later. Not a lot, but enough to know, like, okay, he had a son, or at least an adopted son, if not really his son, but I think it's his son that was killed. And then you have, all the, like, you see him when he burns the side of his face to get rid of the other scars. Like, all this stuff is done in flashback, which I enjoyed. Because, again, I don't need half of this movie that's already short enough to be, oh, yeah, he's just a soldier. And then he becomes this, kind of vigilante character. But instead, it starts out with him in that shootout scene in the town, which I thought was really good because it does just kick off with action. And then feeds you little bits to get his background story by the end.
That's actually the best part of the whole movie.
I also liked how it went into comic book images in that whole beginning part too. Just to set the tone for a movie that's made on a comic. I thought that was really cool.
And because it was made before DC really made, included these Westerns into their mainline continuity, there was a lot of love given to that. That sort of reminded me of The Losers. There's a lot of love when you can switch over and add those comic drawn characters. It really does give you it ties that. Sin City does that better than anyone else.
Yeah.
Any Sin City movie ties you into the book almost frame by frame. Watchmen, we talked about it on this show. Watchmen did it in the first 14 minutes. They tied frame by frame to the book, and it was brilliant. But drawing it the way they did, that really told, and kind of the way they drew you into the story in a very short amount of time to care about the characters was really well done.
Another scene that I liked, being a woman, is I really like the scene where Jonah Hex and Lila are handcuffed above, and Jonah says, okay, I want you to use your feminine wiles to get the guard to come over here. And he's saying all this stuff, and all of a sudden she goes, and he goes, what? And, and then she releases him. I mean, I thought that was a lot of fun. I thought that Jonah Hex was funny in that he was just couldn't understand what just happened. And I like that it was a strong character moment for her.
She was not a wilty girl. She could defend herself. She stabbed people, shot folks. She was like, get up out of here. I don't like going on journeys. She let you know what she was all about. There was some serious Megan Fox action going on there.
And during that whole sequence, she says, can you shoot? And she says, can you? And then they're like back to back. They're like partners in the whole thing, covering each other's back. So it was really nice because it started out, I mean, even though she was strong and pulled the gun on that guy and stuff, I didn't think that the character was going to be that strong when we got to that point.
Fergel, is she from the comics?
I don't believe so. No. I was looking up supporting actors because there wasn't a story that could follow. I knew that was a question that was going to come up. So I was really trying to tie this to something. Again, the background that I've described, the massacre, the death of the brother, Quentin Turnbull, even Smith. There's a gunsmith, several of them, but really and I think that was probably the most disappointing thing, though, is I do think that bringing people back from the dead thing would be really cool to explore. They could retcon him in the DC with that ability. It's not that hard. I mean, you could easily retcon Jonah with just having, because I just think that's a really cool ability, and it separates him from, anybody else. It gives him sort of that superhero. It cements that superhero status.
See, I always view Jonah Hex as like a Quartermain type character. Really good with a gun, really quick, and just cannot be killed. Sort of the Wild West isn't done with him, which is why he just never dies.
See, one of my favorite Clint Eastwood movies is High Plains Drifters. Are you guys aware of that movie?
No, I haven't seen that movie.
Well, basically, he comes riding into this town, and it's havoc. And basically, he's a ghost. And he's a ghost of a man that was killed in that town, and all the townsfolk watched it happen. And he's there for vengeance on the town as well as on the people who are just getting out of prison and coming to the town who killed him. So it's that supernatural character and how he comes in and basically wreaks havoc, I'm
going to rent this movie. High Plains Drifter?
High Plains Drifter, Clint Eastwood.
He's a ghost in this movie?
Yeah. It's never stated that he's a ghost of this guy, but you'll see. And even the part where in the first bounty hunter scene where he puts the star on that man that's standing there, the sheriff's badge. Okay. It's straight out of High Plains Drifter.
By the way, did anybody comment on the fact that the president wanted to make Jonah Hex the sheriff of the United States? Is that even a title? Is that a thing? Was he just making up a thing? Because that was a really big badge. That was a huge badge. I'm like, is he literally the sheriff of, he's sheriff of Nottingham? He's the guy.
Well, I think he even says that. No, there is no sheriff of the United States.
He was like, well, you're going to be the first, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like he was going to make him I thought he was going to make him like a U.S. Marshal or something. But yeah, the sheriff thing was kind of fun. I guess that was an homage to the movie you were talking about, Deborah.
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, it could be.
What do you guys think about we sort of touched on the weapon. So anyone want to describe exactly what this weapon is? We haven't really talked about what it does.
Which weapon? Because there were several.
The big one. The one that will destroy nations.
Oh, it's I think it's a physics design gone wrong. I think it's an explosive that There's a bomb center, like potentially cesium. I don't know, some kind of metal that can be lit and create a massive explosion. And it just needs that they have to separate the detonator and the material, because if they go in the same place together, it just becomes a mess. So it's like a binary chemical agent. So it comes together and creates a big bada boom, bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah, the way I would describe it is it's basically a Gatling gun of cannons that fired off cannonballs that weren't used to destroy buildings. And then they sort of slingshot or fire off this other glowy one. I don't know what it was made of.
The detonator.
And the detonator. If it gets close enough, it basically turns into a nuke.
Yes, it does. It wiped out a town. Like 3 of those shots wiped out an entire town, killed like 300 people, which is crazy to think about. One weapon, one shot, or 3 shots doing that. But also another concern I had, weren't there only 10 balls? I know I kind of 4-8. There were 12 balls. What happens when you're on a 12? Or did he have more of those balls? Because literally there were only 12 balls that you saw. And I'm not even sure if there was 12. Yeah, there was 12. 4,
I think the
12,
ship was loaded with them. That's why when that one explosive ball dropped, the ship blew up.
Well, that's just because it's an explosive ball. I'm not sure it was loaded.
Yeah, I don't think the yellow ball is explosive. I think it's the yellow ball plus the other balls.
Well, it's the binary compound. It's whatever that liquid is inside of whatever that metal is creates a massive explosion.
Yeah, Jeremy is our resident scientist. How does this work?
Yeah, the resident scientist. College dropout. So, no, but I think you're kind of right. And it's not really a Gatling gun because it's like a 6-shot of cannons. It looked like it was like 6 different cannonballs would go off one at a time. They probably had a bunch in that boat towards the end, but they could only load, who knows how long it takes to load this thing. But they shoot all 6, and they have that yellow, it's like a yellow glowy orb that is like the secondary piece. So once that goes nearby, I don't know if it just has to be close enough or if it's like the small explosion that causes the other bigger explosions to go off. But I mean, it looks cool. It looks cool, and that first time he uses that in the little town is like the test town, even though it's full of people. He does. He shoots them at nothing, so these cannonballs just come out, land, and they're big. They're bigger than regular cannonballs.
Yes, they are, and they glow with a little red inside of them when you look at them up close.
And he shoots them in town, so everyone kind of comes out and is like, whoa, what are these? Even though I guess I would still hide in my house if I saw a bunch of cannonballs fly, but they don't. They come out into the town, and they take a look, and then he shoots that one thing by itself, just the one glowy ball, and that causes all of them to then chain reaction and explode into much larger bombs. Like on their own, they'd be huge, but there's 6 of them instead, so it's like just this chain reaction of explosions. So it's basically the same idea as a nuclear bomb has the different parts when they compact together, it causes the explosion. It's the same basic idea, as said by the person with the least amount of scientific knowledge that we've ever met.
I think that was a great science-y explanation. I think our audience would love that. Jeremy Hex, I'm very happy with you. I think it was a great explanation.
And in the show notes, we'll leave Jeremy's scientific research paper on the entire subject. So just click that link, read the 47-page document.
Take it from your brother, Jonah.
I have to read it because that's the part of the movie I didn't understand. I just had to go with it because I'm like, I have no idea what's going on here.
We know that Eli developed the cotton gin.
I was just confused by it because, they jump off the ship with this explosion. I'm wondering, how do they survive this explosion when a small town was wiped out by them? And
they're underwater.
In movie land, underwater is a great buffer.
That's right.
I mean, look at Tom Cruise in the Mission Impossible movie. It's a great buffer.
Or True Lies.
There it is. Or Jason Bourne.
That Jason, yeah. I mean, it goes over and over again. If you go underwater, you don't get blown up.
The impact doesn't get to you, right?
That's great.
Jeremy, you alluded to this. This movie is 81 minutes long, which I thought you had to be at least 90 minutes to be considered a film. So it is 81 minutes long. Was there enough Jonah Hex for everybody?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was well done in 81 minutes. It just gets you through on a quick meal. You're like, holy shit, this is moving.
Yeah, it was fast. I don't think you necessarily need more for the script they had here. There are things that are missing that I would like to see more. The ties that you mentioned, Fergel, to the actual book, the more Indian-related, origin pieces. I'd love to have more of that. Even when they have the scene where the Indians heal him, unless you knew that background or whatever, you're kind of like, what just happened there? Was he dreaming that and then he just comes back to life? Or were there Indians actually healing him? Without the background of what you'd know from the comic, you wouldn't know.
That's what that is, right? It's the crow comes out and there is like, oh, that's the crow.
Right. And I mean, it was cool. It looked neat, but I would have liked to see a little more of that. But again, I don't know if I wanted that. I don't need 20 minutes of his rehabilitation. So I was okay with it going fast at that point because it did, from that point on, it was just nonstop. There was no slowdown. Once that happened, it was just boom, boom, boom to the end of the movie.
Yeah, I really thought it was, I hate that movies are measured by minutes because My husband and I just went and saw Lord of the Rings on the big screen, the extended versions. We went at 8:00. We got home at midnight. I was never bored. I never was tempted to fall asleep. I just love that movie because it's paced so well and there's always something that keeps your interest. And Jonah Hex did the same thing, only in 81 minutes. So I just feel like I don't care how long the movie is as long as I get a whole meal out of it.
Yeah, I like to look at these movies we watch in general, but especially the ones we watch for this, which may or may not be, we've done some movies that are less than great in the past. And as long as I enjoy the watch, if I don't have to stop, if I don't feel like I'm bored, I'm going to turn it off so I can come back later and pay attention. That's a win. And I didn't have to stop this. I watched this in one big sitting. I enjoyed it the whole way through. I was at no point lost, which, it would be hard kind of to be lost in this, but it wasn't, I didn't think there was a bunch that I couldn't connect the dots. And I thought it was, interesting the whole way through. Like I at no point was bored. At no point did I have to, decide, well, I'm going to take a break and come back and rewatch that part to see if I missed something. Like I understood exactly what was happening the whole way start to finish. It's a popcorn movie and a good one for that.
Yeah, I felt I don't want more. It was long enough for me. I did have to stop the movie a couple times just because I had other things to go do. I wasn't pulled into it enough where I would say I could sit through it in one sitting, which is unusual for me. Like Deborah, you mentioned Lord of the Rings. I love sitting through that 3-hour movie, the extended versions. In fact, back when I was younger, we used to do the entire trilogy in a single day. And you would stop for meals.
That's your whole afternoon, man. You got to take a pee in the shower.
That's the whole day. That's you start in the morning and you're done in the evening. Like you're eating all 3 meals.
You're like, I got meat sweats at about 4:00 after eating breakfast, the second breakfast, the third lunch.
What are you eating for breakfast that gives you meat sweats?
I don't know, but if I'm watching Lord of the Rings, I'm putting in some caloric content because that's a lot of movie to watch. It's a great movie, but you need to do something to make that work. That's a lot of movie. I just want to beat that up.
When I go camping, that's the kind of breakfast you have. You just make a bunch of sausage and then your kids don't eat it and you eat 12 links of sausage. And that's when you get the meat sweats. That's the kind of breakfast you get.
The breakfast of champions.
And I just brought meat sweats into the conversation. You're welcome.
So we'll get into sort of what we thought could have been better about this, but this movie was not what I was fully expecting to get when I went into it. And that was probably on
what?
me. Yeah, I'll explain that in a little bit.
Let's just hold on.
I'll explain that.
You saw the trailer, right? Because most of that, if you just saw the poster, I think you would have been like, okay, I better ride in. This is
the one thing I want to bring up is that its soundtrack was not what I was expecting for a Western.
It was heavy metal. It was made by Mastodon, wasn't it? It was super heavy metal made by very heavy metal. Yep, just in a nutshell. That's heavy metal, by the way.
It didn't bother me, but it didn't suck me in either. Normally, if you have a good soundtrack, especially with a Western, you kind of want that traditional Western sound. It kind of took me out of the Western feel, but so did his ability to bring people back to life and the crow scene and all the other stuff. So it wasn't horribly out of place, but for any other Western, it would have been weird.
But it wasn't a Western. It was a weird Western.
It was weird. That was an homage to issue 10, by the way. That was an homage to his first appearance. So I'll give you that love.
Weird West is a big thing now. There's movies like Bone Tomahawk, and I can't even think right now, but Aliens and Cowboys.
Yep.
But anyhow, Jonah Hex fits right in there. The fact that they didn't use typical Western music, I thought added to the kind of Weird West and also to the feeling of discomfort in your body when you were watching it. Because this was not supposed to be a comfortable movie. It's not a cozy. So that's my thoughts on it.
See, if I was going for if I was doing the soundtrack for it, I think maybe a Western cover of a metal song would have sort of made you fit more like you're in a Western, but that discomforting feeling that something is off.
There was a couple. That when he was killing those people with the bomb gun, the music was a perfect choice at that point. People got the gun pointed behind him. That's again to your point, Deborah. When I was looking at him dropping, I'm like, could you please just turn around? It's only 2 feet behind you. Go grab that. Just bring it with you. Somebody's selling dynamite. We can make this thing work again. It just looks so nice.
So, Deborah, you kind of alluded to that. This is. I was asked a question of you guys. What was it a good Western? But the better question is, it was a good weird Western.
It was good it served its purpose. And listen, let's pull everything aside, comic historian fact. Jonah Hex is the 73rd most popular character on IGN list of comic characters, and it's reflected in his fact that there are approximately 7 or 8 people who played him over a multitude of media, from live action to comics to this type of movie here, so, including actors like Thomas Jane. So, I mean, it's Jonah Hex.
What's that have to do with my question?
I don't know. I just thought it was a great soliloquy. I actually forgot your question. Honestly, I went off on a tangent, right? Wow. I don't even know what I just had a senior moment. That's crazy.
The question was it a good weird Western?
Oh, and I gave a soliloquy. Yes, it was.
Yes. I mean, not just the healing with the crow coming out his mouth, not just that he can speak to the dead, but it almost straddles steampunk.
Yeah.
With the weapons.
Yeah, definitely the big weapon being this non-existent thing that is rooted enough in realism that it makes sense. It's not like it's laser rays, right? It still would be something that's crude enough that it fits the time period, but has that steampunk kind of feel. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you keep all that ammo for that gun on the horse? Just out of curiosity. Did you guys see any separate ammo bags feeding that thing?
It's a hollow horse.
I was curious because he was putting out some shells into that building, enough to blow it up. So I'm clearly... that horse was carrying ammo.
So when I was watching this movie, I was, it starts off with this be able to speak the dead thing. I was like, okay, that's not the normal Jonah Hex. We're going to weird Western, which I was in the mood for at that point. And this happened. Then we see the Venom guy in the pit. Like, oh, we're going to go really weird. And all of a sudden, I felt like it sort of steered more to like a Wild Wild West.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to have seen more of a battle. I know they showed the dream sequence of a battle between Turnbull and Hex, but I think that would have climactically... I think they tried to make the dream sequence the battle, because the front battle, it was too dark to see. It was hard to kind of make out the whole scenario, and the dream sequence was shot with such a great camera that everything was caught. But I just think that seeing more of the way they kind of came at each other, the way they settled business, both with a vengeance, both with all of what they take, I think that would have been a great way to end this thing.
I agree.
Now, let's switch gears a little bit, talk about sort of the road untraveled. There were some decisions around who they were going to cast and who the director was going to be for the movie. And I want to see if you guys would have wanted that movie. So originally Brolin, when he was getting this film made, he was trying to pick a director. His first choice was Park Chan-wook, which if you don't know who that is, he is the original director for Old Boy.
Mm.
Do you want to see an Old Boy version of this movie?
No. Yeah, but it's again, there's so much material to mine. I mean, even if you don't go canon, I think it actually works better not going canon, because you can pull so many pieces of characters from this guy's background along with the character of Jonah Hex and go anywhere you want.
So they shopped around to another director after that, Andy Fickman. And if you're not familiar with who Andy Fickman is, he's a director of Mall Cop 2. Would you want to see the Mall Cop 2 version?
Mall Cop 2, like with
yes,
it's Paul Blart, but I don't believe I saw Paul Blart 2 because there was no real reason to see Paul Blart 2.
I mean, yeah, I don't think I necessarily need to see the Paul Blart version of this. That sounds terrible.
And the last choice for the director they were looking at going for was Mick G. That's his name. He was a director of Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. Would you like to see that version of this movie?
I say no just because his name is Mick G. If you can't put more syllables in your name, you're hardly trustworthy.
Yeah, I thought it was a typo when I saw that. I was like, it's actually capital M, little c, big G. That's his name.
How do you Google that? What do you do? I mean, what do you do with that? How do you get? I mean, they don't even let that few numbers in a name search. You're stuck. It's like he wants anonymity.
I don't know. He could have brought a little Charlie's Angels to Megan Fox's role. I mean, who knows?
It's true. He could have really expanded. He also did Terminator Salvation.
Okay, that's a hard no then, because I saw that movie.
I agree.
That just puts it on a hard no. If he has that dark fit, I'd been like, hard to the hell no.
So the only casting choices there was around Jonah Hex. And one of the people they're looking at was, you sort of alluded to it, Fergel, was Thomas Jane. Do you want to see the Punisher playing Jonah Hex?
No, the Punisher needs to play the Punisher. You need a guy who can pull off, like, young Cole Hauser could probably pull that off. You just need a guy who can wear angry Western look. I mean, if you don't have that guy, the whole thing falls apart. And say what you will, but Josh Brolin carries angry Western man.
Yeah, but they could have brought in a new side character called the Russian.
I would have loved that. Would we have given him the striped red shirt? That would have been phenomenal. So stereotypical, but
Never goes away. Never goes away.
Yeah, the thing about Josh Brolin, though, is that he has that rugged, square face, that very, very manly face. He can carry off the big scar, and, he can just carry off that angry bounty hunter kind of look.
From under the hat, yeah, he just looks scary. Yeah, you don't want to be that guy.
And I think you're right, because I think he's much better than the choice they were going to go with before him, which is Matthew McConaughey.
Now, he could have pulled it off. No,
He
come
could
on,
have, yeah.
guys. Yeah, we could have. He is a Texan, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. He is a Texas boy.
Yes,
from
he
the
is.
South. That does come in your roots. I think that's a genetic thing if you're born in Texas. Sorry to my Texas group, but I just know for a fact if you're born in Texas, you love a hat and boots.
It would have been a different aspect of the character, but I think he could have really done a good job.
All right.
And then he shoots you.
Now, Chris, I don't know if you noticed this. At the end of the movie, when the credits are scrolling up, I saw who one of the executive producers is. Normally, that doesn't, who cares? But I had to make sure it was the same person. Do you know who it was?
No, I missed that.
Matt LeBlanc of Friends fame.
Oh, that's right. That's true, because he owned a production company. I remember seeing that.
This is one of the 4 things he's ever produced in any way, shape, or form is Jonah Hex.
What? Matt LeBlanc?
Yeah, I saw the name. I was like, that can't be the same guy. So I looked it up. And at least according to IMDb, it is. I didn't, call him and ask, but I looked at IMDb.
Well, Jeremy, somebody did. There was an interview with him, and he actually said, he was like, I didn't produce that. And he looked at it, he's like, oh, wait, I did. His production company produced this thing, and he had no idea.
That's phenomenal. That's bad, Rich. You need to talk to your accountant at that point.
Supposedly he built a production company to create things for him to go do, but he never executed on that. So the company just went off and produced other movies.
I mean, that's a good source of income. It's a good source. You don't have to do anything. It just brings money in. Although I don't really think this necessarily brought any money in for anybody. But that's
no,
okay.
This was not received. It got a cult following later on, but it was not received. It wasn't Razzies. It got some pretty serious hate love.
Let's look at the numbers real fast. This movie cost
$47
million. It brought in $10.9 million.
And I'm not looking at anything. It cost $47 million and made $11 million in over its time. I'm not looking at any IMDb numbers, just so you know.
It's written on the bottom of your hand. I know that. So this was considered a flop in the theaters.
It was.
I'm not surprised. This is a hard sell. If you don't know the character and it doesn't look Western enough to be a Western, and it's weird enough that maybe you're not sure who the target audience is, this is a hard sell depending on what other movies are out at the same time to get people to show up for the movies for this.
This would have been better as a streaming movie.
Yeah, this would have been great on current streaming services.
I think, a streaming movie, or it was ahead of its time, too. I mean, if it had come now, I think that it would find more of a following in the movie theater. Because Weird West is like, there's a lot of interest in
8 nominations. I mean, that show, even though it too got weird in later seasons, it did some groundbreaking shit. And I mean,
yes,
the guy the Ty Sheridan, the guy who was a rancher before he's like an ultra billionaire dude, he was a rancher. He took Western and took it to a whole other level. So, I mean, I think there's a market for this. But to your point, Jeremy, when you don't know where to classify it, it can find a hard audience.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think they could have done to have made it better or have done better than theaters?
Put it as a straight-to-video release, not put it in the theaters. I don't think this movie was made for the theaters. I think this was a movie that was made, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't streaming services still a thing at this point?
2010?
It was 2010, wasn't it? Something like that?
Not really. Not like it is now. I mean, there might have been, I think Netflix was disc only in 2010, maybe. I don't think they were doing streaming yet.
Yeah. I mean,
although I don't know. I'm older than I think. Perhaps it was fully streaming, and it's not as long ago as I think it is.
It didn't hit like Blade, so unfortunately, it didn't have the power of Blade, quite the power of Blade. And I think it just, I don't know. It's hard to, the movie's actors were phenomenal. I think they all did great jobs. I just didn't think it found an audience at that time frame for this movie.
It seems to me that at that time, John Malkovich was really the only big name.
Yeah.
I mean, now, I think all the Avengers people would flock to see Josh Brolin as Jonah Hex.
Michael Fassbender's a much bigger name now.
Michael
but also
Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender,
if
who's
they
in
even do
every movie.
a tiny tie to the rest of the DC universe, even if it's just promoting that, yeah, this is part of the DC universe. It doesn't have to be current, but it's still like, yeah, in the history of our universe, this is a character. I think it would also be a bigger name. At that point, it wouldn't have been, but now it is.
100%.
Yes, it is.
You make this an Elseworld movie. You throw this into Gods and Monsters because remember, you got complete freedom in the Elseworlds line. You can do Batman 2. You can do all these different things that don't fall into the main line. You can have some hellified fun with characters like Jonah Hex.
I think that at the time, because like the DC wasn't really a thing at that time, the DC universe. I think if they want to sell that movie better, I think they keep going to lean more into the weird and almost go horror. And I think they would have got a bigger audience to go see this, because that the horror audience will watch any genre, Western, modern, whatever, as long as it leans into that horror genre.
That's what Blade did.
Exactly. Blade the people that go Blade was like, oh, it's about vampires. I want to see vampires. So this was like more Western weird to be like leaning into horror. People are going, oh, I'm gonna go see this as a horror movie. Oh, it's a comic book movie at the same time.
The other thing to remember about Blade, though, was Wesley Snipes was hot at that time. Like, you couldn't have picked a better star for Blade at the time. That was a big draw. Where Josh Brolin, not at this time.
There was a ton of blood.
Blade is definitely. I'm just saying,
bloody and gory. It was probably the most bloody movie at that time.
But to get people to come out, even pay attention to the trailer, you had Wesley Snipes.
That was a perfect cast choice. Still is to this day. But I think the movie had the opportunity, to your point, let's lean more into the dead piece. I think that was the coolest piece. Let's take, you threw the demon in there. Where'd that come from? Maybe if the dead are chasing him, maybe because he walks between the land of living and the dead, they can get him all the way out of the dead land. So, and just that would have been cool if you had just a little bit more. And then I think it would have made a better end fight scene between Quentin Turnbull. Maybe
so he's Ghost Rider?
Involved. No, but I mean, for lack of a better word, he can bring the dead back to life with a touch, and says the dirt helps the dead not hurt.
Yeah, but they also had that throwaway about the hellhounds.
Yes.
And if you had had the hellhounds like pursuing him, like every time he talks to the dead, like, or something, there's a cost to him. The hellhounds are getting closer, or the hellhounds are hunting him, or
that would have been horror. That would have been. I think that you would have tripled the movie on that one. You would have tripled it completely.
Actually, Deborah, as you're talking about that, like the way he treats the dead kind of reminds me of like Constantine, the way he treats the dead.
Yes, this had a very Constantine feel to it, which I had the same issue with. I mean, that did a lot better box office wise, but like that's another movie that I didn't know what it was till when I saw it, and I was like, wow, this is totally different. That's what this felt like to me too. If this would have had, I didn't know exactly what this was before we, reviewed it. I knew it was based on a comic and it was Western-y, but I didn't pay attention to it. But that extra supernatural part that it wasn't in the comic that they put in here was a bigger interest for me. And I think they could have leaned in that a little more.
100%. That was the best way to transition that character to the screen. And I think it would have got accepted. And actually, to be honest with you, if you look at the subtle changes over Iron Man from 2008 to today, open any comic book and you're looking at Robert Downey Jr. That is Robert Downey Jr. You can't not look at it. So, I mean, literally, it only takes case in point, look at Blade. I mean, what are we, 30 years later, Blade shows up, part of the biggest movie, and only one Blade, 10 Batmans, only one Blade. I mean, you find that right character, you can lean anything into it.
So we got the new DC universe is being built right now. Do you want to see Jonah Hex have his own movie in the DCU or an Elseworld movie?
I can't make that decision until I see what they do with a property like Clayface or a property like Swamp Thing, because Jonah Hex is a complicated property. So in order to do that story well and make the kind of money, you got to see what they're doing with stories like that, which are Swamp Thing and Clayface.
Yeah, because DC hasn't exactly had the best track record for their movies, so I would love to see another Jonah Hex movie.
I would too, if they could make it well.
Yeah. And if they could lean into that supernatural stuff that we've been talking about here, I would love to see that.
So DC, listen to us. We know what we're talking about. Listen to the fans.
Because we're the fans. Well, I'm the fan.
We're all fans, Deborah.
After watching this, I know that's not the question, but instead of another movie for this, I think if you're going to try to make the DC universe this multimedia thing that has, I don't need a TV show, although it would be fine as a TV show, I guess, but I'd rather see this. When I watched this the whole way through, I kept thinking this would be a really, really cool video game. more than anything else. The way it's all put together, where you follow him through, and you're always playing as Jonah Hex, but there's enough stuff going on, enough action going on, and I mean like a Red Dead Redemption style video game, not a throwaway movie license. Like, oh yeah, you just run around and fight. Like, no, there's more to it. There's actually him. You can do all the flashback scenes, but as action scenes, there's a lot you can do to it. And you could make it a 30, 40-hour game that would give you a lot of character to this character, and then have him show up as a side character in something else, and everyone's like, oh yeah, that's Jonah Hex. There's a whole game. It's rad. And I think this character fits that more than
Isn't
a lot
Red
of
Dead Redemption just like this character, though? Isn't it have some of the same similar revenge arcs?
I mean, the revenge arc, that's very Western, though. But the actual abilities of the movie version of Jonah Hex, the ability to bring dead back to life, the whole Indian section, you can have a whole 20-hour section of the game that's Indian tied, and it would be really cool. And that is kind of what Red Redemption does. But again, you don't have this character. You don't you're a Western character in that. I like that game a lot, but I think if you took this, tied it in, you could have a lot that ties it to the rest of the DC universe as a flashback.
Come on, listen to us. We'd like the royalty checks when you develop this, please.
Yeah, I would actually love to see this as a DC Elseworld movie, Fergel, as you've alluded to, and that they can go other directions. Because I think he has to go really lean into the super weird, the supernatural.
He still has to prove
if you go
himself.
Elseworld, you can bring in the supernatural and not have it impact the rest of the DC universe.
Well, and he's still got to prove it to himself. It's a ways he's the Batman technically was the first Elseworld movie, but in order to draw that movie into something else, Batman 2 has to more than surpass Batman 1. And then he has to make another movie like the Clayface or the Swamp Thing that's just completely I don't know, it's mainline, but it also falls in else. I mean, these are complicated properties, and to make them huge takes so much effort.
Oh, true. But it doesn't change the fact I still want to see it.
Of course you do. I'd be right there with you.
So, I don't care if the other properties do well or not. I still want to see it. And now Clayface, I think, will be mainline. I don't think it's going to be an Elseworld movie because they've already had Clayface in Creature Commando, and I think they're going to keep using that same version of him. But it's going to be, from what I understand, he's sort of more of a horror movie when it comes to Clayface. I mean, that's not what we were talking about today, but...
No, but I mean, that's the thematic elements that we're trying to get back at in order to make this movie sell more.
So this movie is over a decade old. Should people go out and find it?
If you want to pay $3.07 or get a trial subscription, it's just Cinemax on Prime. Maybe. But otherwise, it'll get back on the streaming services.
I actually own it, so I say yes.
Yeah, no, I enjoy this one start to finish. Like I said, one sitting, and you don't need to know anything about the comic to enjoy it. And you're not spending the first half of the movie learning who this character is to watch 20 minutes of action. It's nonstop. It starts off strong, it ends strong. This is a good popcorn movie. I recommend it for that purpose.
And Deborah, I actually own this movie too, but I bought it as a 4-pack, and we are finally through my entire 4-pack of movies.
Oh my God.
Okay, I've got to know what was packaged with this.
Okay, so this one was packaged with what was a Watchmen, Jonah Hex. Guys, you're gonna have to help me out. What have we done recently? It wasn't Josie and the Pussycats.
No. Recently?
Recently. It's all the last 4 we've done except for Josie. And Steel. Wasn't Steel.
I was going to say, we just did Steel.
The History of Violence.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
And I'm trying to remember what else we've done so many movies. I can't remember what the other one was. So there's one other one.
History of Violence is a good one to package Jonah Hex with.
Yeah, that movie actually drops tomorrow for us. Oh, Losers was the other one.
Oh, yeah, okay. That makes total sense. Those are movies we all done.
Yeah, we did it. Losers is a great movie.
Yeah, it was a great Amazon purchase of mine. I think it was like $7.
Amazon purchases are amazing.
I spent more than that trying to stream those movies, so
Yeah.
Yeah, often I see if I can find like a good variety pack for it. Fergel, I do not own the Steelbook of this movie.
No, you have enough Steelbooks to last quite a while, my friend.
Yeah, we're nowhere through all those books yet.
You could make a small igloo with your Steelbooks.
They'll keep me warm at night.
It really will. I mean, if you heat them bitches up, you might be able to make a grilled cheese sandwich out of one of them.
And the zombie apocalypse strikes, I will have a house of Steelbooks. So, how would you guys rate this movie? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I would give it 2 bomb pistols up.
I will go same. Only it's the guns from the
the finger guns.
The Smith makes him.
Ooh,
It's those guns that
pistols.
Smith.
This is my representation.
Okay, yeah, that you called them bombed pistols, but
Bomb
yeah.
pistols, man. That's what they did. They shot bombs everywhere they went. They were like grenade launchers in the sun.
It was so cool. Except they looked like laser
Crossbows.
arrows.
Yeah, like crossbows, but they were just bombs.
Yes.
Which is awesome because you just shoot a bomb at somebody. Go ahead. I'm
Yes.
sorry. I apologize.
I would go with Finger Guns. That's not even a rating, but I'm going with Finger Guns because it is kind of cheesy, kind of enjoyable. But I had a good time with it, so I would say Finger Guns is a valid rating for this.
I can't give it a thumbs up all the way because we rarely ever give out full thumbs up on things, but it's enjoyable. I mean, I wouldn't say avoid it, but I wouldn't say go out and spend $20 trying to get a copy of this. Go and buy a 4-pack.
Perfect example is if you're flipping around to find something to watch on the Roku or whatever it is you're using to find random shows that you're not just typing in movies. If this was just on a channel and I came into it 20 minutes in, it would just stay on my TV till it was over. This is the perfect movie for that.
Oh yeah, if your Netflix says I recommend this, and it's on that list of recommended ones, yeah, you're not going to miss. But this is not. There are movies we've watched where I'm like, just do not watch it. Just avoid. That is not this movie at all.
Cemetery Man. And Chris,
I would not say avoid Cemetery Man. I know it scarred you, but Cemetery Man was an interesting watch. Interesting.
I just have to say, I don't pay $20 to go see movies in the movie theater. So, I mean, heck no.
It is pretty pricey to go see it, but I still like the movie theater experience. It's an experience. The movie theater is so much more than just.
I go, but I live in Las Vegas. I can go to the movies for $5.
Oh, hell yeah. That's Las Vegas. That's good stuff right there. I'll take that all day. They got $5 movie Tuesdays here up in Michigan as well. We'll take those things all day.
So do you guys have any final thoughts on this movie?
Yeah, let's find a guy who can make us those bomb guns. And I bet you it's on Etsy. We can find an Etsy maker. Next time you see me, we'll have an Etsy recreation of those bomb guns. I'm
the Etsy bomb gun shop?
I'm going to find it. I got my son the Rat King from Destiny, and your son will know exactly what that is. It's a perfect replica of the Rat King.
Well, first of all, you guys should see High Plains Drifter. You really need to watch that movie. It shows my age that you guys have not seen it.
Well, like I was saying, my dad believes there are two kinds of music in the world, country and Western. So those movies were played on repeat in my house. So I probably have seen it, just don't remember it at all.
Yeah.
That would be part of the childhood you may have blocked out or blocked in, or it just all became one piece.
It's that trauma I carry with me everywhere.
I will like to say that if people like the Weird West genre, Jonah Hex fits very nicely into that. And Bonehawk Tomahawk is one of my favorites as well. So, just look for Weird West movies.
I mean, if you're going to talk about movies that we've covered, I think if you did this and Constantine back to back, either one, that's a good evening. Very much. It's DC Universe, but it's all very similar. Crow's a good mix.
The original Crow.
Yeah, the original Crow.
Add that as the back end of that. You'll be like, oh, there's a crow in all of these movies. I feel good about it. Let's do it.
Yeah, the original Crow, not the new Crow.
I have not seen the new Crow yet.
Don't bother.
But yeah, Jeremy, I think you're right. That'd be a fun evening. All three of those movies back to back.
I agree.
So I guess with that, Deborah, thanks for joining us tonight.
Well, thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
So where can people find you? What are you working on these days?
I'm going to have a story in Weird Tales in January. So look for that. It's called Stitches, and it's about the Bride of Frankenstein and her dog. And it's very dark and graphic, and because I love writing horror. We are going to be doing a Kickstarter for our Dragons by the Yard comic for Chimera Press, and I gave you guys the link to that, which will be on the page with me, I believe. So I hope people will sign up for that. We're going to be finishing that series up. And at the moment, I'm writing a novel. You can find me at Deborah Daughetee on Facebook, Chimera Press on Facebook. I don't do a whole lot of social media. I have a website, deborahdaughetee.com and chimerapress.com. So that's me. And I've really enjoyed doing this. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. And Jeremy, where can people find you?
Well, other than being here every other week talking about movies, you can find me on other weeks on the Retrovaniacs podcast, where I talk about old video games instead. And if you happen to be in the Philadelphia area, by the time this comes out, I believe Subtastics will be playing a show, but I don't have the actual dates. But if you're interested, go to subtastics.bandcamp.com.
And to our comic historian, Fergel Amayo, where can people find you?
Well, I won't be doing anything as cool as performing with a band. That is so cool, Jeremy. I'm just going to say that right now, because that means you're a guy. the whole thing going on. You're like, yeah, that's just dope. But what you can find me doing is Get Your Nerd on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. As I said, I'm still working on a story that I'm putting together. It's both a comic, a script, and a story. So it's just a continuation of something that's morphing out that I originally had when I started my store, which is my own comic. So I'm developing my characters, developing my story, creating my opportunity there. And just working my way to get my next store open here pretty soon. So I'm looking forward to that. Doing business. That's where it's at. So come hear the fun stuff.
Sounds good. And for me, you can always find me at Off Panel Creations. We're always building some piece of nerdy furniture over there. I want to thank you, our listener, for spending some time with us. If you disagree with Megan Fox about this being her worst film, send us a note over movie-smash.com, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you again for listening, and I hope you enjoy the show. This has been Movie Smash with Chris Roberts, Jeremy Parmentier, and Fergel Amayo. Produced by me, Chris Roberts. Executive produced by Off Panel Creations, LLC. Movie clips provided by the respective studios. You can rate and review the show at Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You might even find your review read on a future episode. Got a question for us? Visit us at movie-smash.com and send us a note. It too can be read on a future episode. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Movie Smash wherever you listen to your podcasts.
I think that was a great sciencey explanation.